to courage, to rise, walk, recover. Today, I have a special guest on my show, Pastor Vander Purcell of Sanctuary Deliverance Ministries. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we will be continuing our talk on loss and grief. And Pastor Purcell actually knew my mother, who passed in April of 2018. So we also have something in common because he has lost his mother, his father, and a sister. So tell us about your mom.
My mother was a phenomenal woman. She was the actually virtuous woman that's discussed in Proverbs.
Yes.
She was supportive of my father in all the years of ministry that he had began and finished.
Wow.
And in doing that, she never stopped being a mother.
That's great.
Never stopped. And she put so much in my sisters and I that when God took her, I think all of us were stunned.
Right.
And stunned in a way that we didn't know what move to make next. Being that I was the one that on that morning of July 4th went and told my dad that she didn't make it. And to share that news with the pastor or bishop or presiding prelate is rather different than sharing news like that with a member. When you're sharing something like that about your spouse.
Right.
And of course it affects me as well. Kind of hits home a little different.
Yes, I'm sure.
And so she, my mother was a fighter. And we prayed and we fasted and we prayed and we fasted. And, out of all that, God still made a choice.
Yes.
And, which another part of that stunned all of us. Because what we thought was, oh, mama gonna get out of there. Because the God that we serve is going to bring her out. And on July 4th, our lives changed. My mother was very, very outspoken. She was a strong woman. She stuck by my father. We would travel up and down the roads, Eagle Springs, Fayetteville, South Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, doing ministry. My mother was right there.
Wow.
Even when she got sick, she was right there, which is what made us believe that she was going to come out.
Right.
We thought sickness was just something that happened, and they bounced back. And so that was our real reality to my immediate family.
Yes.
Because the glue that held us together,
Right.
God had just took her from us.
Right.
And that's just the kind of woman that she was.
Yes. So there are some similarities in Pastor Purcell because our mother, as you're describing your mother, is something about these strong Christian women. My mother was a fighter as well. And just as you're speaking, my mind is just going back to some of the same things we prayed.
Yeah.
My dad called us to a fast. We were fasting and praying, and we're like, just any day now, any day, the Lord's just gonna raise her up. So that's amazing how much we just have in common with that.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing that part. But I do have another question I would like to ask you.
Okay.
So what has been some of the trials and the issues? Because I'm sure some things are new, some things are different. Just tell us about how things have gone with you from here.
Okay, I think this is very common. Anyone who is close to their parents, whether it is your mother or your father, when you go through, we call them trials and tribulations.
Yes.
Let's add challenges, adjustments, modifications in life. When you go through those things, you tend to be able to deal with them better when you have a mother, when you have a father. Remember, as a child, you know what your mother's heartbeat sounds like. You were next to it. So when you are facing challenges in life and you have a mother, Your mother can tell you what's best. You might not like it, but that's your mom.
And we didn't.
And none of us did. And you know, like your mother, your mother was everybody's mama at school. I mean, everybody loved Mother Clark. You know, and I get the same similarity description of my mother, because everybody loved Dola.
Yes.
Everybody loved Dola. And you know, when she transitioned, it was so hard, because we were facing things right then. And you know, my mother in the last few days, she stopped talking. You know, and so, but just going through things and being able to release it, even though we know she couldn't say anything,
right.
We were able to release it. That meant the world to us. But when God turned the page, you know, now who do we release to?
Right.
You know, mothers and fathers are a little different.
They are.
As a male, you know, I was a little closer to my mother.
Yes.
Than my sisters were. So our relationship was very, very different. So when I can't release to my mother, you know, it done something to me, because now I'm forced to carry with me what God gave to me.
Right.
And only afterwards did I had to mature.
Yes.
And learn and adjust that some things that God will allow you to endure. But now you don't need your mother.
Wow.
Now you need God. So in other words, God, in some sense, had to release her from this earth so that we, the children, could really, really seek Him. Because all we knew was Mom. Come home from school, Mom.
We know.
You know, go to church, Mom.
Yes.
That's all we knew. That's all we knew, Mom, Mom, Mom. And just as if there was anybody else who are in the church, and you know, they have parents that are working in the church, working hard, working effectively, you know, and you see your parents building ministry after ministry and building people, and it's gone. You know, to the church, they lost a church mother. They lost Mother Clark. We lost a mama. So it's different. It's very, very different. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and you know, as you were speaking, I thought of a couple of things, because my brother was the only son. And when I tell you, he was really hurt. His heart was really hurt. And hopefully one day he will come on the show to even give us more information. But I could just feel that energy from you. And
Absolutely.
I thought of my brother.
Yeah. When I told my father, he sat down in the den, and he just sat there. And I said, Daddy, you all right? And he said, yeah, let's go to the hospital. Because they were not going to do anything, because he's the spouse. So I took him up there, and I'm not sure how people found out, but when my dad got there, there was people there at the hospital.
Right.
And so, you know, we did what we were supposed to have done. And the nurse came to us. It was a male nurse. I don't know if he was just switching shifts, but he said, they're going to call the funeral home. So, and he said something to me that I never really thought about until this day. And you would have never heard of it if you haven't lost a family member. And he said, they're gonna come put your mother in the body bag, so you probably don't want to be here when they come. I have never in my life ever heard.
Never.
And looking at my mom, to them, it's business.
Right.
But to me, that's my mom.
like
That took a whole another
another
turn.
Yes.
And so I took my father home, and I needed the moment. Because, you know, this was a first-time experience for our family. So I found myself being very strong for my father and very strong for my sisters. And but when I dropped my dad off, and I hope this helps your brother, I got in the car and I drove and I yelled and I screamed
Yes.
and I hollered. I never questioned God. I just had to get that out.
Released, yes.
And sometimes in life, when God takes from us that which is so precious to us, the only way through is to release something out. Because you don't know what you're feeling. You know what people tell you,
Yes.
but you don't know really what you're feeling, because it's a different kind of feeling.
It is.
It is so challenging
It is.
that I called a lady that I literally hated. And I said to her, I want to apologize, because what I'm feeling right now, I don't wish that on nobody. Now, I'm not even really talking about the death of my mother. I'm talking about the fact that I couldn't stand you while my mama was here. And now my mama is gone, and you still here.
Wow.
So I gotta live with you. So I might as well get this right now.
Wow.
And that I'm hoping that would help people, because it's not worth in life
It's not.
to go around with something in your heart
Yes.
against people, and they don't even know it.
Right.
God just using them,
Right.
and God just blessing them, and you in church like, I just wish you or he would sit down.
Right.
But I had to get that right.
Right.
And I couldn't grieve right with something in my heart against somebody.
Right.
It takes your grief to another level. And grieving is very different, because if you're not careful, grieving will have you doing things that you never thought you'd do.
Right.
All of the different stages
Yes.
that they have for
Yes.
grief.
Yes.
But if you're not strong, and if you're not trying to understand and trying to find God in it, you will turn to a monster.
It's a different place.
It's a very different
It's a
place. And this is
different
why
place.
people who are in church sometimes, after they lose a loved one, they don't come back. Because they can't
It's a-
grasp the fact that, God, why didn't you take this one?
Right.
Because this one right here is the one that's being messy.
Right.
This is the one right here that's being sloppy and stealing and doing this. Why didn't you take my mama? God does all things well.
He does.
And he, we were already a close family, but
Yes.
it was very, very different
Right.
for my sisters and I, because we didn't know what life was like without mama.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
Right.
What do you do when you have to face life like you've never faced it before?
Exactly.
Never.
Exactly.
I can't remember how young I was 30 something. I couldn't remember. I couldn't imagine life without my mom.
Right.
She's in every aspect of my life. Church, everything.
Everything.
And now we gotta grieve, and we don't understand how to get over it.
Right.
With the help of God,
Yes.
it can be done.
And
Amen.
that's how, and I think a lot of people have had questions of, how do I even go forward? How do I even live?
Yes.
How do I do this? But you did come back with the response. It is with the help of the Lord. That is how we make it. Because we had many, many questions. We did not understand. You said something interesting, because one thing that you mentioned was the different levels. And I don't know if everyone understands.
Yeah.
You hit that when you said you lost a mother, you lost a first lady, people lost aunts, but when you grow up as preachers' children,
Absolutely.
it's just so many different levels of loss that we have to face every day. So some people they can grieve and go to church and have their first lady. But not only do we grieve at home, when we go to church, we have to face these same or different
That same
parts.
chair.
Exactly.
That chair is
Exactly.
empty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a different place.
It is.
So the last question I would like to ask you is, what are the next steps, or what did you do after the passing of your, let's go to your dad, because I know there were some shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
I know there was a new direction, new
Absolutely.
roles for you. So just talk about that.
I want to start with this. When my father passed, I remember your father. And he hugged me, and he whispered in my ear, he said, I am here for you.
Wow.
And, it was different because I knew that your father and my father were good friends.
Yes.
I knew that.
Yes.
And a lot of people had said, some very encouraging things, but often in life, as you mature, you can discern
Yes.
if people are just saying things just to be saying it. And when you're grieving, everything sounds good.
Yes.
Everything sounds promising, but genuine friendships, you can feel it.
You can.
And when my dad passed, I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but I'm led to share it. There's two things I'm going to share. I have a picture that I have not shared with maybe two people.
Okay.
And this picture is my dad 2 days before his death. He said, come here. And I was like, I was already sitting
Here.
down, so he said, come here. And I came, he said, come. So I came close, and he said, come. And I got close enough that he prayed for me. He took his hand, and he prayed for me. And he was mumbling a prayer. And I couldn't really grasp what he was saying because I was so shocked that he had got enough energy to pray for me.
Right.
And so he prayed for me, and he was, the last thing that he said that I understood in that prayer was spiritual matters only. And it took me a while to really grasp what he was saying. And what he was saying was, when you preach, when you pastor, deal with spiritual matters only.
Wow.
And I have lived my life from those 3 words since he passed. Because, if not, us pastors, we can care for everybody, and we can love everybody.
Yes.
And we can love everybody's faults, everybody's errors, but everybody's faults and everybody's errors are not spiritual.
Right.
And we can fall in love with that, and it'll drain us.
Right.
And when it drains us, it makes us sick. Knowing that I still had to grieve with my
Yes.
father, he was telling me, don't deal with the outside of the spirit realm. Deal with spiritual matters only. So I've done that, and it has, because that was the last thing that he ever whispered to me and
Yes.
said to me, it has made life a little easier because I feel as if I'm doing what I think he would be proud of.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
Now, if I didn't know, that would be very challenging.
Yes.
One of the worst feelings that any child can have as a preacher's child is to not know what your parent wants for you.
Right.
And because he explained to me in those 3 words, that meant everything to me.
Right.
And I mean everything. That has been my life, that has been my challenge, that has been my instructions. That's really what I deal with. When my father died, it goes back to what I said about my mother, as you can relate. Most people lost a leader,
Yes.
a person in the church, a lay member. But we lost a father.
Father.
And a father is different than a pastor for
Yes.
some people. Just like a mother is different than the first lady.
Yes.
Although to you, she's a mother and a first lady, but she's your mother.
Yes.
Same thing with my father. That's my father. So losing him, God put me in a position to really show my strength, or the strength of God.
Good.
What we did was I was forced to grieve at certain seasons. Now, most people would say, you need to go ahead on and grieve.
Right.
Okay? But not many people were in the position that I was in, which meant I had to preach.
Yes.
I had to preach to grieving people.
Yes.
And I was grieving.
Right.
You know? So, and then my aunts and uncles, they were grieving.
Yes.
You know, so I really had to be strong.
Yes.
And only with the help of God was I able to do it.
Only with His help.
My father, the last 4 or 5 years, we spent so much time together. He put so much in me.
That's
I mean, he just kept, revelation after revelation after revelation. People thought that they were really receiving word from him on the radio. Nah. Ride with him to the junkyard. He gonna give you so many revelations about the word, about God, about the Trinity. I mean, just so much he was impartaking into me that it was just unreal. And to the fact that I was like, where we going today?
Yes.
He said, well, we're not gonna go nowhere today. I said, we got to go somewhere today, Daddy, because I was so into what he was giving me.
Yes.
So he said, well, let's just ride down to Winston. So we just ride down to Winston, look at the cars, ride down to Albemarle, look at his properties, spend so much time together.
Wow.
And the challenge was, and this is kind of deep, the challenge was, although Sanctuary were grieving, they still wanted Bishop Purcell.
Wow.
And it hurt because I don't have the wisdom
that's hard
that
to follow.
He had in him.
So
my father could take one word, and I'm literally one word, and preach a whole series out of it.
Wow.
And that's a gift.
It is.
That's a gift. He could break down the word in so many aspects that it was just unbelievable. Right now, people are still saying to me, I remember when your father preached return.
Wow.
I remember when your father preached creation. I remember when your father preached the needle on the wall or something to that nature. And I was too young, so I don't know.
Now, can I stop you right there? Because I have one of those. When your dad came to our church and he preached about Rapshika on the wall. Because I'm telling you, and let me just say, even here, when I heard that your dad passed, I grieved. Just I'm hearing what you're saying, just his wisdom, his insight, his knowledge, because I was like, wow, all of that is going to the grave. Because that was just a powerhouse of just so much wisdom and knowledge and energy. And I just wanted to make that statement because, you would be surprised of the people that were affected. Because like I said, I grieved because I knew the knowledge that he carried with him. So a lot of people appreciated who your dad was.
Yeah, he was a fountain of revelations.
Yes.
But the people, this is a challenge that I went through that I really had to ask God for help. And God said that that's part of your journey. It's not your destination. And that part was the people that loved my dad.
Yes.
What happened? Why did you find it so easy to abandon the ship?
Wow.
It took me a long time to finally grasp this fact. And one of the mothers of my church, she answered this for me. She said, because those were Bishop's people.
Ooh.
And I said, what in the world does that mean? She said, those were Bishop's people.
Yes.
You want God's people. And I said, okay. Don't talk about that anymore. You want God's people. And I couldn't understand it. But it let me know that there are people in churches for wrong reasons. For the man.
Yes.
And when I finally accepted it, I was good.
I understand that.
I was good because we grieve longer.
Yes.
When it's family. Some people grieve 15 days, 1 week, they good. They, hey. And then, I start realizing that some people, they mad because, they can't receive the provisions that my dad was giving them anymore.
You have just viewed part 1 of our conversation with Pastor Vander Purcell. Join us the next time as we continue our conversation on loss. So remember, you are not alone, but you are in the plan of God. When you are tempted to stop caring about life's activities, take a look around and see how God is still spreading around His mercy and grace to the world and to you. That means it is my time and your time to move forward and make your mark on this generation. Thank you for choosing to share your time with me on this show. Join me again the next time as we hear various life experiences of others who are living with loss. We will find our way through this, so let's find courage to rise, walk, and recover together.